he said, I don't believe that I've never seen anyone be a successful dad or a successful CEO. Like, you have to be one or the other. And that didn't sit well with me at all.
No.
In fact, I told him at that time, like after that lunch, I'm like, you know what? My family is way too important for me. And maybe you haven't ever seen it, and maybe it's unrealistic, but I believe, and my life's mission is to be an amazing CEO and an amazing husband and father.
Hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Wealth. My name is Paul Adams, your co-host and CEO, founder of Sound Financial Group. I am joined, as always, by Cory Shepard, a man whose eyes you can get lost in, but you'll never be lost in his explanation of financial matters.
Paul, I'm so glad that we didn't get a chance to date, because I would have had Kristen, bless her heart, the lines that she let you drop were amazing, I'm sure.
I think one of my favorites was just walking up to her and patting my chest and my pockets, all that. And she said, are you looking for something? Did you lose something? And I said, lost my phone number. Can I have yours? So just a solid lame joke for us to start out the day. That's not actually how we met.
Now that I'm on my way to being this is really, really important because I think, Brock, sorry, we're going to introduce you in a second. Do you have kids? You said kids
Yes.
book. We're in the, yes. So
4 kids.
My first is coming in February. So I'll actually have a reason to tell the dad jokes I've been accused of telling for years and years and years. And my new definition of a dad joke is the other person was just jealous that they didn't say it first. And so they call it a dad joke. So that's
like that.
That's my definition.
That. I'm going to use it. Well, speaking of which, everybody, we have a guest today that we are really honored to bring you guys, and mainly because of the work his company has done, especially during the pandemic, amidst COVID. And Brock is the CEO and founder of Lendio. Now, many of you may know Lendio because of what they've done in small business financing around the PPP, but they've been around for a total of 9 years. And to give you all a little background about how solid Lendio has been, despite them being an all online bank, as far as I know, and in the position that they don't have reps running around, my entrepreneurs organization chapter and multiple CPAs I knew, when these could not get done by the local banks, those banks that people had been going to and worked with sometimes for 20, 30 years, the same bank, were able to go to Lendio and get through their PPP funding. And based upon the numbers, credited was saving 1.2 million jobs just from the PPP loans from Lendio. So with that, Brock, Blake, welcome to the show.
Thanks, fellas. I'm glad to be on today.
Well, and I got to first start with what's it been like growing up with two of the most powerful first names as your first and last name? Brock, Blake. You've got two names of kids that beat me up in elementary school. That's how tough your name is.
I mean, that is a pro soccer player name if I've ever heard one. And
yes,
by the way, researching you, I learned something that I didn't realize, that BYU actually, you play not in a collegiate league, but in a feeder league for pro soccer. That's right. That's incredible. What's that like, being a college athlete in a builder league?
Well, it was funny because at BYU there's the basically Title IX, which means that not every sports program can have a scholarship program, and so BYU, we were playing club soccer for many years, and we won the national championship 7 out of 8 years in a row, and including a couple of years when I first got there, and so the program was looking to get into a more competitive league and couldn't go NCAA kind of Division I, so decided, all right, we're gonna go and buy a semi-pro franchise and compete, in that league. And so it was on the front page of the New York Times and kind of controversial, but it ended up, it was good soccer, that's for sure.
That's really cool. Well, I don't know if you noticed in researching me, but I also graduated from BYU.
Oh, you did?
Well, not technically, but my last credit of college was, so I went to Seattle Pacific University, and through a mix up with my Well, just to call it a mix-up, my diploma didn't actually come in the mail after I walked through graduation. Found out I was a credit short and didn't realize it. So the way that I could get it done, I found a nice 1-credit spreadsheets class online through BYU. And so that was actually my last credit of college.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
I knew we had something in common. I could tell.
Right.
I thought Cory was going to tell you about his pro soccer playing career I didn't know about. So
for years, I've gotten emails from BYU bookstore, alumni organization, like all this.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, Brock, you're going to BYU, playing semi-pro soccer. You started Lendio 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of precipitated you launching Lendio to start with 9 years ago, from being semi-pro as a soccer player all the way through to now a company that saved 1.2 million jobs in the biggest pandemic of our time?
Well, for 100,000 small businesses, that's the other number that blows my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I was at BYU and I was studying entrepreneurship and wanted, and did a bunch of entrepreneurial kind of, mowing the lawn, buying and selling things and stuff like that growing up. And I found out about a program that was, it's kind of like the TV show The Apprentice, without Donald Trump saying you're fired and all the glitz and glamour. But there was 100 entrepreneurs that applied and 20 were selected. And the 20 of us went through this 8-week boot camp where we had to go out and sell products and do a networking event and do a marketing competition and all these various things, go raise money. And at the end, 5 were selected and were given $50,000 to go start a business or buy a business or whatever. It was whatever they wanted to do. And I was fortunate to be one of those 5. And out of school, that kicked me off into my entrepreneurial career and went and started a business and probably made every mistake in the book along the way. And during that time period, we were helping entrepreneurs get capital from investors, from private investors. It was kind of like a dating site. And we realized that the majority of the businesses that were coming to us looking for capital, this investor capital, were probably not a great fit for equity. They were Main Street businesses, and they needed more like a $25,000 line of credit or an equipment loan or something like that. And so we tweaked our business model. Instead of focusing on equity, we decided, hey, I think there's a much bigger opportunity and we'll serve a lot more businesses if we focus on debt financing. And so we kind of shut that first business down in 2011, launched Lendio with this goal to help small businesses. We call it fueling the American dream, giving them the capital they need to grow, to start and grow their business. And as soon as we switched to Lendio, I mean, we had some painful moments. We've had so many painful moments. We probably should have died about 15 times along the way, but we realized that this was a much bigger opportunity. So that's connecting the dots from college soccer to, Lendio.
And how many people, well, it's a 2-part. How many people work at Lendio now, but how many people worked at Lendio in January? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So we have about 450 team members now. In January, we had about 250. And it was interesting was we were just on a tear, growing quarter over quarter. And then March hit and the world changed and the pandemic hit, and pretty much overnight, the lenders stopped lending, and appropriately so. They didn't know how to price risk. They didn't know how to offer a loan to a business owner and know if they were going to ever get their money back, because some of these businesses were going to, suffer from, their doors being closed, and things like that. And so, overnight that happened, and we started to kind of read the tea leaves that there was going to be this stimulus package, the CARES Act and the Paycheck Protection loans. And, I sent a message out to our board and our team, and I just said, this is our moment. We need to go all in. We're going to make a big bet, because there's millions of businesses out there that need this help. And so as we watched that, in a matter of about 10 days, We hired 200 employees. We had a few hundred lenders that needed help being able to offer PPP loans. We spent
wait. I just don't want to skip over that. The lenders who you would normally, for lack of a finer word, broker out their lending to the marketplace, you turned around to the lenders, your vendors, and you became their vendor to use your technology platform to get their loans directly out.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, a little bit of context. Lendio is the largest marketplace in the U.S. for business loans. So you think about us think about Expedia for hotels or Yelp for restaurants. That's Lendio for business loans. We have 300 lenders, and a business owner comes to us, fills out one application, and gets access to many loan options that they can comparison shop. The rate, the term, the payment amount, and choose the product that's the best fit for them. Well, many of those banks, when all of a sudden PPP hit, most of the way they would accept an application prior to this would be come into our branch, fill out our application, and it was like a stack of papers that they had to complete and then submit it. And that wasn't going to happen when everyone's quarantined. Right. So now these banks are scrambling to say, I need help being able to accept a PPP application online. So many of them came to us, and we scrambled. Can you imagine signing an agreement, doing the legal paperwork and doing the onboarding and getting their logo on the technology and getting their technology to work and deliver the application to the right loan officer? And I mean, there's a lot to it that has to happen in a matter of 10 days. We just said we're going all in, and so yeah, in a matter of about 2 weeks, we onboarded 200 lenders onto a totally new PPP loan application technology. Hired a couple hundred employees, onboarded a training. And remember that everyone's working from home, so getting all their workstations and shipping it to their house and getting them trained, and it was just a Herculean effort, we flew pretty close to the sun.
I was going to say, and I can blame Lendio for the fact that I tried to buy a new webcam for a client that didn't have one on their computer to send to them. Because we work with all our clients by Zoom, and it's like $400. Like frickin' Lendio sending out workstations to everybody across the country. Now I know.
I'm sorry.
Now I know.
I'm apologizing now.
But can we go back a moment and talk about? So, if you don't mind, getting into a touch of gory detail here.
Yeah.
So you guys, people are submitting their loan packages. You're doing business as usual, growing. And then all the markets for lending dry up.
Yep.
Which would be a little bit like a gold miner just running to the end of the gold vein. Like, what do I do now? It's just all gone. Now you're sitting back reflecting. What was your battle plan? Did you bring the entire team together? Was it just you and, a key partner or whatever that really started the battle plan of, we are going to have basically a twofold model? One, we're going to offer technology to the lenders that they used to be our vendor, and we're going to make PPP loans directly. What was that situation room like experience for you and your firm to just kind of, for lack of a better way of saying, you literally relaunched a new business?
Yeah, I sent out a text. I'm pulling up my phone because I sent out a text to our board on, it was about March 16th. And it was this quote that I had read from Winston Churchill that said, "To every man there comes in his lifetime that special moment when he is figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to him and fitted to his talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared or unqualified for that which would be his finest hour." And I saw that quote and I sent it out to our board, and I just said, "This is our moment. This is there's no one else that is more prepared to help businesses than we are, and we have to go all in." And so it was a message that I sent out, and they didn't exactly know what Paycheck Protection Program was going to be or what it meant. None of us did, because it was changing every day. But they had the trust to say, go for it. We're all in. Let's do this. And so I went to my C team and the same message, and they bought in, and then we went to the rest of the team, and we everyone, when people want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, people want to be a part of doing something that's really meaningful and helping other people. When you're mission driven, there's this motivation that people are willing to sacrifice so much to go and help. And everyone just felt this incredible desire to say, business owners across America need this help. Whatever it takes, we're going to do it. And we're going to risk it all. And we did. And so it was one of those, and we had moments where I literally thought that Lendio was going to crash and burn. Like we were literally risking it all. And I'm happy to share some of those, but it just started with, we saw this opportunity, started to communicate it. People bought in, communicated more broadly. People bought in until we got to the point where everyone was on fire, ready to go.
Wow.
So, and I think Cory's got to take us to commercial here in a minute, but I need to ask in on that.
Sure.
So it's like you already operated with your primary sense of why, your mission-driven focus in your business. And by having already refined that for whatever period of years prior to this, it wasn't like you designed your why that morning. I think sometimes it's easy for all of us because we're either around people who have watched a fair amount of television, or we have ourselves, that there's like a montage,
right,
about a 2.5 minute, slightly truncated song, and all the problems are solved, and there's never an issue left at the end of 45 minutes,
right,
taking commercials out. And yet what you had designed was your why far in advance, that had the situation and that quote kind of combine to say, this is why we're here. Like there was a why you already had, and then there was this situation that's like, no, maybe we were created for this moment.
Yeah, I mean, our why from day one has been, we call it, like I said, fueling the American dream. And there's something a little bit like, people are bought into that. When people come to Lendio, they know what they're signing up for, and they want to be a part of it. Now, we tweaked that during this pandemic to saving the American dream, just because, hearing from all these customers, we have hundreds of thousands of customers that came to Lendio during this time, and hearing from them saying, including, by the way, every person that has a business from elementary school and college and high school, and from your community and cousins, friends, and aunts and uncles and brothers, and I mean, just every person that you could possibly know that has a business that's coming to you saying, my business is gonna die. I went from this much revenue to this, and I don't have, I can't make it through, and I need the money, and they're desperate, and the clock's ticking, and so much anxiety and so much stress and so much thinking about this. I've spent my life building this business. It is my baby, and I'm watching it like slip through my fingers as the government shuts the nation down, and there's nothing I can do. What am I supposed to do? And so we just felt that motivation, like we got to save those businesses. We need to do what we can do. And so we tweaked it to saving the American dream, which it was even more motivating because of those stories.
It's amazing. So we're going to take a quick commercial break for a message from Sound Financial Group. And when we come back, more with Brock Blake about saving the American dream. Stay with us.
Paul Adams here at Sound Financial Group. Are you curious what you can accomplish with our help? You're here enjoying the show. Our philosophy is helping you increase your effectiveness with money, and now we have a way to help you take another step on your financial journey. We have designed a financial inquiry call for you and the thousands of other listeners of Your Business, Your Wealth. This is a complimentary 15-minute conversation where one of our team members will ask you some key questions, understand your concerns, and if appropriate, schedule a time for further conversation with an advisor. If you look at the episode description, you'll see a link to schedule a call at a time that's least invasive for you. And even if now's not the right time for us to work together, we'll point you toward resources to help you in your financial journey. We always look forward to connecting with our listeners, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Welcome back to Your Business, Your Wealth with Brock Blake, CEO of Lendio. And Brock, we were talking a little bit about that, kind of going back to feeling like a startup again and reinventing the business 9 years in. And a lot of our listeners and clients have established businesses, but from time to time, you just got to surge or act scrappy like a startup, like we just talked about. But something I was thinking about on break is, you mentioned you have four kids. What is that like? I think a lot of our listeners would be interested for your family to kind of have that. You sent the text to the board, but then probably the family meeting had to happen too, to be like, here's what it's going to be for a while. So what was that like, creating that future and getting your family on board with the mission?
Well, fortunately, my family's been on board. They didn't quite understand what we were getting into. I didn't quite understand what I was getting into. But for about 4 weeks straight, it was the most challenging experience of my life and my professional career, because it started at, early in the morning, 5:30. I'd be up and immediately I'd have, I was on CNN at the time and CNBC and kind of a spokesperson for PPP, and so on Twitter. And on all the different social channels, I was getting blown up. And so it was like, responding to customers and that were anxious and needed their money and hadn't got their money yet and all of that. And it would go like literally nonstop until, midnight. And it was about 20-hour days every day, including normally, kind of Saturday and Sunday is really sacred time for me to be with my family and kind of rest. And just during that whole time, you could not stop. And so it was a time, it was a real stress on the family, because kind of neglected the family for a few weeks. And not because I chose to, but because there was no other way to do it. Fortunately, one time towards the 3 weeks into it, my family's quarantined, the kids are at home doing homeschool, and while everyone else around the nation, they're talking about, this is great, my husband's at home, we're having family dinner every night, and my wife's like, I haven't seen my husband in weeks.
And he's just in the next room.
He's just in the next room, legit. And so we my in-laws have a place down in southern Utah, and to kind of get a change of scenery, I packed up my office desk and my office chair and my monitors and put it onto a trailer, and we drove the family down there one night, and we were going to spend a couple days down there to give them a change of scenery, but we ended up spending like 10 days, and same thing. I was in this vacation home, locked up in the room, did some webinars from there, did a CNN interview from there, and it actually really took quite a toll on my family, and that's really important to me. Normally on a normal course of business, I talk a lot about the balance and going on weekly date nights with my wife and spending time with my kids, and I coach my son's football and all those things, and after it was like, I had to go off the grid for a few days when it kind of slowed down and go and kind of reconnect with my kids, because it was a painful experience, and one that it was one of the most meaningful things I've ever done in my career by far, by a factor of 10. And fortunately, my wife and kids were very understanding, and I tried to do some other things since then to kind of get back with the family, I guess it is to say, but it took a toll for sure.
What's for you, what was because I think for many people that are CEO of their business, a huge amount of our audience are business owners, and what they can tend to do, and what we see, because we kind of walk arm in arm with them through a good chunk of their life. What is it for you that was that impetus to be like, okay, I'm done with the surge. I don't need to grind 20 hours a day right now. And you kind of had, sounds like, some pretty well orchestrated life and business. I don't like using the word balance, but you orchestrated those concerns appropriately.
Yep.
Then you had to go totally out of balance for a bit.
Yep.
And sometimes what happens is people get out of balance like that, and they stack up a lot of wins as the CEO during their surge, and it's very easy to just keep surging. So what is it for you that was the impetus to come out of the surge? Like, what was the difference you noticed in your calendar? What was it you were able to put other people in charge of that you were having to be in charge of as the tip of the spear during this change? But what was it that then allowed you to throttle back a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, every person in their life has their own priorities. And for me, early on in my career, I was raising money from an investor. Let me just tell this brief story. And we had a term sheet from them, and we were about to close a round, and we went to lunch with this guy, and we had a conversation, and he started asking me a personal question about my family, my kids and stuff. And he said a quote to me that changed my career and my passion. He said, I don't believe that I've never seen anyone be a successful dad or a successful CEO. Like, you have to be one or the other. And that didn't sit well with me at all. No. In fact, I told him at that time, like after that lunch, I'm like, you know what? My family is way too important for me. And maybe you haven't ever seen it, and maybe it's unrealistic, but I believe, and my life's mission is to be an amazing CEO and an amazing husband and father. And I decided at that point that's what I was going to do. And I haven't hit either, but it's my life's mission to be able to say, I'm confident you can build a great business and build an incredible culture and solve a great problem and build value and build a legacy in your career without sacrificing the relationships that matter most. And that, which to me is the relationship with my wife and my kids. And so there's other things you have to sacrifice in life for that, right? There's other time that things that other hobbies or other things that you might have to give up. And so I already kind of had that as an established priority. And while I had to surge during this moment and everyone understood around, we're helping small businesses, and it's this unique time. We just have to act. They believed in it, and they were bought into it. And then, when life started to calm down, you can't get addicted to that high of this business and forego, and sacrifice what matters most to you. And so it was just a matter of, okay, now the timing is back for me to spend time with my kids. I actually went to my EA and said, for the next few days, I need to be off the grid. I need to go spend time with my wife and family. And we've done a few things since then. So it's back to a more sustainable schedule. But it just comes back to priorities.
Well, and one quick fun thing for our audience, if you've never taken one of those lights out, but you still want to make sure somebody can get a hold of you, I did a lights out trip years ago. So when I was leaving town, what I did is I got a prepaid phone, wrote down the phone number, tore it in half, gave half to Cory, half to my chief of staff, and said, the two of you need to agree to get a hold of me. Because we weren't sure. That was the first time I'd done a 10-day lights out trip at that time. But I love that you had your executive assistant just channeling communication, protecting you for a few days.
Yep.
All right. I think Cory's got one more question, and I have one more.
Two quick questions, yeah. So something, we were talking about this big surge to, your employee population doubled in just a few months, just about.
Yep.
It just occurred to me like when a small business has a Starbucks or a Costco come say, hey, we want to have your product in our stores. It's a huge opportunity and a huge risk to make that ramp up. What was your thought process for protecting the business against that kind of a risk of growing costs right along with the opportunity?
Yeah. We thought about it, but for about 2 minutes. and just said the opportunity is just too great to not. The bigger risk that actually happened was that, we had all these lenders that when we were going into PPP that said, we want to fund as many businesses as we possibly can. And that was on, the Paycheck Protection Program launched on a Friday. So on Thursday, they had big eyes, we want to help as many small businesses as we can. By Monday, they had received more applications in one weekend than they had received in the previous 15 years combined. And so all of a sudden, wow, in one weekend, every business owner in America was applying for a loan, and they were so overwhelmed that they actually on Monday they were like, just kidding, Lendio, we can't take on any new customers. Like, we've got way more than we can possibly take on. And so come Tuesday, Wednesday, we were at this point where we had thousands, tens of thousands of businesses that had signed up to Lendio and had come to Lendio because their own bank was either not approved for an SBA to do SBA loans, or was choosing not to offer the PPP loans, or was prioritizing certain customers over other customers. And so they were at this disadvantage thinking, I can't get a loan because my bank won't even give me the PPP loan. And so they're like scrambling and they heard about Lendio, they come to Lendio. So we have all these businesses.
People like us were sending people to Lendio.
Right. And we don't have a lender. All of a sudden, we went from 300 lenders to 0 overnight because our lenders, they're using our technology, but they don't want to take on any new customers. And so that we were just sweating it and scrambling, trying to find every
context. This was after 2 weeks of building all the systems so it would run smoothly. Your team is smoked, you're smoked, and then you're told again there's that, like, you just got finished with nobody will lend, like, a month and a half prior, designed a whole system so that everybody could lend, and now they're like, no more lending.
Yep. And it wasn't because they weren't lending, they just didn't want to take on new customers.
Yeah.
And so we were scrambling and finally, I think it was Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Mountain, 1 a.m. Eastern. I'm on the call with the executive of Ready Capital, which is a non-bank SBA lender, saying and cut a crazy deal with them where they would take on as many customers as we could send them, and it was like this incredible moment. That and even then we cut this deal with them. We start sending them thousands of customers, and then we get a little bit deeper into the process, and their capital gets tied up. And so they approved a bunch of customers, and then their capital, which they had plenty of capital, but it was not approved for these PPP loans. And then we went through this whole other problem. There was just moment after moment where again, the pressure of all these businesses depending on us, and where we were just doing everything we possibly could to get them the loan. And like I said, a few times we flew close to the sun. I thought for sure it was going to be, thousands of customers upset with Lendio because they couldn't get them the loan, or they got approved and then the lender didn't fund it. And fortunately, we got through it all, and it ended up being just an incredible, so meaningful, so gratifying experience to help all these businesses. But during the time, there were some moments that were pretty scary.
Well, and at least from all of our clients that we had sent to Lendio and the CPAs we know of that sent people to Lendio, the customers had no idea, which kind of reminds me of kind of what we talk about inside of Sound Financial Group, is that how often there's a problem with a financial institution that Cory and I or our staff are buffering our clients from seeing the enormous amounts of BS that goes on at the financial institution, saying, oh, the person needs to sign these 8 more forms, and watching one of our staff push back on it till it gets down to 1 form. Or in your case, like, everybody stop lending. These people aren't going to get funded. And they didn't even need to know that you guys were like a duck on, you ever seen a duck swim
Oh, yeah.
on the water? They're all super smooth, but if you see the cutaway shot on YouTube, those little feet are going a mile a minute. I'm sure that's what the Lendio experience looked like to clients, was like that smooth duck on the water with a beautiful wake behind it. Meanwhile, those little orange feet were going a mile a minute there at Lendio.
No question.
What you also own a VC firm that helps people be able to capture venture capital funding, and you've owned one in the past. Maybe as kind of our last question, at Lendio, you've grown through probably both bank and equity capital.
Yep.
But for our listeners, what is it you would suggest when people are thinking about, okay, I really want to scale and grow my business, or we've got a new potential large contract, we got to go buy a huge expensive piece of equipment to fulfill on that contract, but it'll take our business to the next level. What are the ways that if you were sitting with one of our clients as a business owner now, well, you're talking to the two of us as business owners,
right?
What's your kind of mental model, that mental framework that you would use to figuring out whether or not somebody should be doing an equity raise or through debt financing to be able to grow their company?
Yeah, I mean, during my career, we've raised so much, a lot of money and got, every form of debt possible, between credit cards and equipment loans and lines of credit and SBA loans, and raised capital, and it's really depends on the situation of the business owner. I mean, primarily, if you can, the priority would be to bootstrap it and not take loan or equity capital. But if you can't bootstrap it, the idea is too big or the investment's too great or whatever. And so the next priority for me would probably be a loan, where I don't have to give up equity in the business. And the challenge is with getting a loan is, can you pay the loan back? Do you have substantial cash flow to be able to pay that loan back? And if you do, then that's going to be your cheapest form of capital. And so go use a loan. And then if you feel like, this is an enormous opportunity, I don't have the cash flow yet, but I need the capital, and it's a real great opportunity, then go raise investor, capital, where you're selling, ownership in your business, you're bringing on partners. And a lot of times those partners can be really value added. They've been around the block. They've seen businesses that have been able to scale, can be, really valuable partners for you. And so, we've raised, over $50 million in venture capital, and they've been incredible partners. But we've also taken on debt. And so, it's a really tough question to answer, kind of carte blanche. It depends on the scenario, but in my order of priority, I would bootstrap, get debt, and then raise capital, depending on the type of business that it is. If it's a cash flow business, then debt is probably the right path to take. If it's a business that you feel like it's going to be $100 million revenue business, or go public, or other things like that can be very large, very scalable, then probably venture capital is probably the path you would want to take.
Well, I love that distinction of, what I hear, to truncate what you talked about with the equity partner, is what is the thing they're bringing other than money? Are they bringing distribution channel? Are they bringing influence? Are they bringing access to vendors we couldn't get to? That they need to be more than an equity partner if you're going to let somebody own a part of your business. It's really great.
Yep. And if not, don't get caught up in just taking the money, because there's going to be investors out there that are more value add, that add, strategic element, to add some sort of unique value besides capital, because capital is a commodity. And so that's the most important kind of part of that decision of if you're going to raise money, is make sure it's smart money. Make sure it comes with, value add partner, or new channel opportunities, or a good advisor, or a great board member, or other strategic value. Completely agree with that comment.
Right on. Well, in the meanwhile, Brock, do you have anything that you want to make sure people can follow you on socials? Any big projects coming up? Something that you want to make sure our audience knows about before we wrap?
Well, I mean, always, if there's small businesses out there that need capital, we'd love to be able to help you out at Lendio. It's a free service for the business owner. We make our money from the lenders. They pay us when the loan closes. And so if you need capital, come see us. We have a team of we call funding managers that kind of walk that business owner through that process using kind of some of our technology. And then we just launched a cool podcast that I think is valuable as well. It's called Defining Moments, but it's really focused on those moments that are like, let's talk about failure. Let's talk about those times where you made a mistake and then how'd you overcome it. And we're really kind of celebrating those fail fast moments. And there's been some incredible stories about entrepreneurs that are not afraid to, sometimes it's a little taboo to talk about when we made a mistake or when something didn't go the way we wanted, or we had to shut down a business. And so, if it's probably a similar audience to here, they might want to check that out as well.
Right on. Defining
I think we can
moments.
make sure to link that in the show notes. Well, so you can find
it.
Yeah, perfect. Jordan will throw it all in there. Lendio.com and Defining Moments and at Brock Blake at Twitter. Is that right?
At Brock Blake. Yep. Yeah. At Brock Blake on Twitter. Yep.
Right on. And now, for all of you listening, I've got to say thank you. Just thank you for listening in. Thank you for taking the time to pour into yourself and creating a better future for you and your family. For those of you that are clients of ours, thank you for both listening to us on our Zoom meetings and then listening to us when we're not in a Zoom meeting and you're consuming this podcast. Cory and I find it as like the highest honor that you all would listen to us, and like getting a chance to chat here with Brock. What I realized kind of mid-conversation is Cory and I get the chance to talk with some of these great influencers, and we almost get our own personal training session in our conversation because we ask the things that we're curious about as business owners. And we love that all of you get a chance to be with us on the journey. So a couple things before you go. Do remember, put a review on iTunes, Overcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't hesitate to go out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every week, Jordan, our video editor, is taking a couple of clips and we're getting those posted. So if you didn't have time to hear the whole episode one week, I guarantee there's at least like 4 or 5 gems right here with Brock that Jordan's going to clip out, and maybe that little soundbite, that little piece of business or financial knowledge is what will change your week or change your year. Just like that Winston Churchill quote getting sent out to your board members, that is landing in one of those clips. And you never know, when you share those on social, when you share that you're reviewing our podcast, don't forget, if you take a screenshot, send it to us. It's an honest review. We're going to send you out one of our books. But what we want to do is make sure that more people get a chance to hear interviews just like this one that might make a huge difference for them, for their family, for their future, and for their businesses. And as always, we hope this has been a contribution to you being able to design and build a good life. Hey guys, so glad you could tune in and watch that video. I want to remind you to subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can get the latest piece of financial knowledge we release. And don't forget, go to Amazon, get a copy of Sound Financial Advice. Why? Because it'll make you better looking and smarter.